Hey guys, it's Astria here with our Substance Painter texturing tutorial. If you have Substance Painter, then this is a great tutorial for you guys. I personally prefer to texture within Substance Painter, and I'm going to be showing you as best as I can, as long as I can remember, all the tips and methods that I use when texturing characters within Substance Painter. If you don't own Substance Painter, it's definitely something worthwhile getting because it is a great program. It's a lot better than the texturing system within Blender, and it's a lot more precise and cleaner looking than texturing outside of Blender by using an art program like Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop. Before we go into Substance Painter though, we need to make sure that our model is set up correctly. Now there are different ways that you can set up your character. If your hair was left auto unwrapped rather than unwrapping it, you don't have to include the hair, you can just hide it, but this is the version with the hair unwrapped, so I'm going to include it. Now with the hair, basically what we want to do to set up our model is to make sure that every single asset has its own material, so then we can texture them separately and nothing gets affected by other textures. So for the brows, I'm going to create a new material and call it brows. The eyelights, I'm going to call them highlights, and we're just going to do this for everything that we feel would need to be separated. It's eyes, we're going to do face, and we're going to do, you can separate the ears if you want, but I'm going to keep the ears as part of the face. Body and mouth inside, and eye whites or sclera, I never know how to spell it. And then you want to make sure that you go into edit mode and assign these to the correct things. So with the face selection, you can easily select different parts as the seams act as a separator. So with the eye whites, I'm going to assign that. The mouth inside, I'm going to assign that. The face along with the ears, I'm going to assign that. The lashes are also part of this mesh, so I'm going to make a new one called lashes, and I'm going to assign that, and then just going to select the body and just make sure that it has the body assigned to it. Now you can check to see if everything is assigned correctly by clicking on your material and hitting select, and you should see everything that you have assigned is highlighted, and you can see if anything that you don't want to be selected, that you don't want to be assigned, appear to, and you can just reassign that part of the teeth. We're going to do top teeth and bottom teeth, and we're going to assign them correctly. The top teeth and bottom teeth, the tongue, the top, the sleeves, the choker underscore part, the string, the lock, the belt heart, the shorts. I'm also going to make the short pockets, shorts underscore pockets, and I'm going to make sure that I assign it correctly. The suspenders, and now shoes, mane, shoes, tongue, shoes, sole, shoes, tip. Now you can keep these all together if you want as well, which I'm actually going to do, just so then I can show you guys methods on doing different color textures. But what I will do is make the laces different, as it's a lot easier to separate the rest of it with the method that I'm going to show you. Assign, and everything should have something assigned to it. Now I'm going to delete these because we don't need these anymore, and we're going to go and I'm going to delete the backup meshes, we don't need those anymore. Delete the references, we don't need those anymore. We're going to export object as an OBJ, and I'm going to do a tutorial model, texturing, and export it. You can also export as an FBX, but I prefer doing it as an OBJ. And now in Substance Painter, we go to File, New, Document Resolution as 2048, Normal Map Format, that doesn't really matter unless you absolutely need a normal map. I don't use normal maps for my models because my models are stylized in an anime way, and I do simple texturing. I don't really do any fabric looking textures. It's all just based flat color and then shading. And then select for the file, and then we're going to find our file, open it, okay, and it's going to take a while. There we go. As you can see here, we already have an error. Our hairs are flipped. Their normals are flipped, which means that texturing isn't going to work very good. So back into Blender, I'm going to check the face orientation, and you can also see that the belt is flipped. Everything that is red is flipped, everything that is blue is got like normals. So with the hairs, I'm going to select objects, and I'm going to Control N, recalculate outside. And I'm going to do the same thing here, recalculate outside, and with the pockets too, recalculate outside. And now we're going to export again, export OBJ. We're going to override it, or you can save it as a new one if you want. Then we're going to go to edit, project configuration, file, select, and select our new one, and okay. And it re-imports it with the fixed normals, which is great. Now I like to texture in orthographic view just because it's flat and it's easier, but you can switch between the views to see how the textures look. Up here, this is where you can switch between scene 3D only, 2D only, which is our UV map, and you can have a split of 2D and 3D. I tend to switch between 3D only and 2D and 3D. It depends on what I'm texturing. The hair I don't think has a material, which I'm going to fix. Now with the hair, you can have each strand have a different material, but I'm just going to make a new one full of hair and apply it to every hair strand. You can also separate it into bangs, top hair, which I might actually do. I might change the name of it to being bangs, and then only applying it to the bangs. And then I'm gonna call these buns strands, and then these can be buns. Just to make it easier, I'm just gonna hide these for now that I have already given it material to. I'm gonna call this back hair top, and these just back. Okay, and then we export. There we go. And then as you can see, the new materials have been added here. So obviously I can't have a screencast keys unless there's like an add-on, which I am not entirely sure. But to zoom in and out, you use the scroll wheel. You hold down Alt and hold down middle mouse to pan. You hold down Alt and you click on left click to rotate, and that's pretty much it for the movements. Up here is your brush, which you can have painting, you can erase, you can do a projection, which I never really do, you can polyfill, which I never really do, smudge, which is blurring, you can clone, which again I don't really do. You can export to Photoshop, which I don't really do, and these are just also things that I don't really click on. Here are your materials, which you have different things like fabrics, skins. You can use these as a brush, or you can fill them in with the fill tool over here. Smart materials I don't use. Smart masks, which I don't use. Filters I use regularly, but I don't use it via this. I do it a different way. And all our brushes, which you get a bunch of them, but you can also add new ones, which I'm not going to show you guys how to add new ones. I'll link a tutorial down below on how to do that. But this one is my custom brush that I use for shading. It's just a lot softer than the basic soft, and it's just easier to use, and it's just a basic circle. It's not textured, which you'll be seeing me use this regularly. There is the alpha down here for it, which you can create a basic alpha just by doing a black background and then doing a white for your shape. I have also done that with making jean rips for a commission that I've worked on. Over here is where your layers are. You can add a new layer by clicking this little paintbrush, or you can add a fill layer which fills in everything with one color, which you can hardly see with the material as it's so shiny. I typically texture within base color, so using this drop down, and I do base color, and you can see here that the base color has been added. I always disable the metal, rough, normal, and height because I personally don't need those. But if you want to add a metal and roughness to it, you can, but again, I don't use those. The base color I can easily change by just going down to this box and changing it here. You can see that it changes automatically. You can use the eyedropper, which you can also do within your screen, so it's not just locked within Substance Painter. You can see here if I go down to Discord, I can pick up the Discord color. So it's really handy, especially if you have your references off on the side on a different program. You can color pick from there. It's very handy. which I'm actually going to do, I'm going to open up my Clip Studio Paint. And I'm going to grab my reference on the side. And I'm going to color pick for the hair. Like that. You can select a layer and do Control-C to copy. And then Control-V to paste. It can be a bit finicky sometimes. There you go. And you can see here, it has pasted it there. So you can do that with your shading layers as well if you want to keep the shading consistent within each other. So I'm just going to add all the base color layers as I go. I tend to work on the body first. If you click this eye here, you can focus on just your selected material, and you can re-enable things as you go. This eye up here, you can show all or you can hide all. I'm going to unhide the face, and I'm going to work on the face, which I'm going to try and do a better job than the previous tutorial. So I'm going to add a fill layer. I'm going to disable all of these. I'm going to color pick her skin tone, and I'm going to go back to material so I can see all the shadows of the areas. I'm going to select my brush, and in this panel down here, I'm going to disable all of these. And with the base color, I'm going to select the shading color that I want on my other screen. And I'm going to do just the base shading around the face. So just like this. And I'm going to use it directly onto the mesh. Now you may ask me, some people might want to know, do I texture with a graphics tablet? No, I do not. In fact, I texture with my mouse. It might be a lot better to use your graphics tablet if you have one, but I'm lazy and I just prefer to texture with my mouse. It feels a lot better. It feels quicker, but if you want to include things like stabilization and pressure, it would be a lot better to use a graphics tablet if you own one. But you can do good textures with just a mouse. So I'm just going to texture the back of the head. As you can see that the ears have been affected. So what I might end up doing is adding a separate material for that. But as of right now, I'm just going to add the shading and see how I feel. This is why Substance is great, because it's just really easy to use. I'll add just the lip line. I make my brush larger and smaller by using the bracket keys. I'll go back to base color so I can see what it will look like a bit better. I'm going to lower the opacity a bit. And add a typical anime line nose. You can also do nostrils like this if you want. It's up to you. You don't have to completely copy how I texture. Just play around with the program and you'll get used to it. That's what I had to do. Also, I changed the erasure type to my soft brush, so then I have a softer removing, I guess. Add a new layer, and we're gonna add the highlight both the nose, cheeks, and the forehead. And then with the smudge, I'm gonna select my soft brush, and I'm just going to blur it a bit. Going to show all, like that. I'm gonna enable the lashes. Add a base color to it. And just select just that color, and I'm going to darken it a bit. And with the brush, and just brush on the lighter bits onto the ends. It's harder to texture eyelashes with the way that I have unwrapped them in Substance. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the 2D only. I'm gonna texture here. I'm gonna do a line here. I'm just gonna put a line here. This might not end up looking good, so, you know, just experiment. And don't be afraid to have to re-texture something if it doesn't look good. So... let's do 2D and 3D. I'm gonna do the soft brush in the center, and then basic soft, and just do that. I kind of like it, but what I'm going to do now is with this, I'm going to right click, add filter, blur, and I'm going to increase the blur just a bit. I'm just gonna leave these as just a basic white. They don't need shading because they are a highlight. The eye whites. Going to do that. And then here I'm gonna do a basic soft. I'm not going to texture on the eye. I'm just going to do trial and error and see what position the thing should be. So I'm just going to color it all in. And then using basic soft and just erasing until it looks good on the 3D side. It's all just trial and error, just you might have to like keep going over something until it looks right. I'm going to lower the opacity of it. And then the eyes. I'm going to enable the brows and just give them a base color. As you can see here that the eyelids don't have a material, so I'm gonna have to go back and eyelids, and then we just assign them. And whilst I'm here, I'm going to assign the ears their own. Ears, assign, and then save, and then export obj. And then you're probably thinking, well, we've already textured, will it get rid of our texture progress? It will not when you do this. It'll just update your mesh with the new materials that have been added. So I'm going to hide all, and then re-enable the brows, bottom teeth. Actually, leave the bottom teeth. Highlights, eye whites, eyes, lashes, and face. I'm just gonna have to do it again because I think I messed up. Oh, project. There we go. So with the eyelids, I'm gonna give it a base color, and we're going to select this color, but we're gonna make it just a bit darker, so then you can actually see the eyelids. I'm going to select the eye color. As you can see here, I'm switching between texturing on the 3D and the 2D because the UV map of the eyes is a bit weird. So it'll look a bit weird if I did it just purely on the 2D. This isn't how I normally texturize, but I'm just doing it as an example to show you guys how you can texturize. You can do it however you feel looks best. Now I want to make this a bit darker, so I'm gonna add a filter and color match. Do that, but I'm gonna make it just a bit dark. And then we're gonna add an overlay. Do it as white. Another overlay. I'm gonna follow these lines. And then we're going to add just a little highlight thing up here. And lower the opacity. I'm not gonna keep it as yellow, I'm gonna actually change it with color match again. Oh, as you can see, that just made it so I just purely focus on the eyes, but I'm not going to do that. I don't really use that too often. I'm going to use the hard brush. And then the soft brush, and just do that. Overlay. And just add a filter for blur, just to give it just a soft blur. It's not how I typically do eyes, so it might look a bit weird, but yeah. I'm gonna go back to the face, and I'm going to add a bit of blush on the cheeks. And I'm going to make it multiply. And I'm going to just add a textured bottom eyelash here. And then underneath, just gonna do light and see how this looks. I don't normally do eyelashes like this either, but it's fun to experiment with different texture styles. As you can see here, that some of the textures are going to the back of the head, so you can just remove it. see how that looks. I quite like how that looks, so I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna see if I can add some lip texture to it. I don't normally do lips, because they're just a bit too hard for me to do, but... yeah, filter color match. And then we're gonna move it down. So that is underneath this. I'm gonna add another filter. You can add more than one filter and just add a blur to it. I'm gonna lower the blur a bit. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add a folder, and I'm gonna put this in the folder. I'm gonna duplicate it, and then I'm going to remove the lips from the duplicated one. And then from the original one, I'm gonna remove the shadows that I did. And then add filter, color match. And match. That. Just make it a bit darker so then it just matches with the lips. I don't know how I feel about the color being pink, so... Oh. I'm probably gonna make the eyelids, not the eyelids, the eyelashes match the darkest like that. And we're gonna do a color match. And color match. And just lower the opacity. And the ears. Now what I can do is I can take the base color and the shading color, copy them, go to the ears and paste layers. And then material. And I'm just going to and add a blur effect. As you can see, it will take a long time to texture, so I'm probably going to leave it here. I might not do the rest of it on tutorial, but yeah, these are basically my tricks that I do within Substance for texturing. Now she has a gradient at the bottom, so I'm gonna do that. And as you can see that the pattern of the hair is like flipped. So you gotta be careful when you're texturing the hair. And I'm just going to add dark shade there. As you can see here, it's a bit difficult to texture like the tips of it. And I just do this, and then it has just a shadow. Again, this isn't how I typically shade hair, so it might not look the best. But yeah. I'm gonna add the overlay highlights. It's gonna look very messy. Oh wait, that was the gradient. Oopsies. So we add a new layer, and we add the highlights. It looks very messy. This isn't how I typically texture hair. I hate doing those. Overlay. you go. And the hair is textured. It's probably not as neat as what it would be if I had it unwrapped automatically, but I think it looks pretty good anyway. I think she's looking very cute so far. So I'm probably not gonna texture everything right now, but I'm gonna show you one last trick that I had to learn by myself. I was not taught this when I was in uni. They didn't really expand that much in Substance Painter. So I'm gonna go to the top and I'm going to give it a base color. I'm gonna give it the base color that I have put in the reference, and I'm gonna make a new folder. I'm gonna call it Purple Accents. I'm going to add a new fill. I'm gonna give it this purple color, which is quite blinding, I do apologize. And now I'm going to add a black mask. In material, I'm going to hide everything else. And now, with the basic soft, I'm gonna go around these edges right here, because these are what I have put as purple in the character reference. Now you want to try and be as neat as you can. And try not to go over the area that you want to mask off. So masking is really helpful for when you have one mesh and you don't want to give it too many materials for specific areas. So like the shoes, like I mentioned earlier, how I kept it as one material. This is the method that I would use to give the soles a different color, the tongue a different color, and like make sure that the shading doesn't go into specific areas that I don't want that kind of shading to go into, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I'm just doing it kind of messily right now. And then I'm going to change the grayscale to black so then we can erase anything that we don't want going into the other area. You can do a straight line by holding down shift, clicking an area once, holding down shift, and then clicking again, and you can do it like a straight line. So if you need any straight designs or you want to just quickly outline something, that is very handy to do. Gotta make sure that is left clicking, not right clicking. Just that bit. Okay, like that. And obviously I would do it here as well because that's where I also had the same purple color, but for now, just so I can wrap up this tutorial, just gonna do it like that. You can see it is kind of messy, but it's fine. So now, if I were to add a new layer within the folder, and I make it a shading layer, I can just shade it and it won't go onto the black bit. So I can just shade it however I want. And it's really good for making certain details pop without affecting other areas of the mesh. So I like to outline areas like this in the darker color. And I'm gonna add a filter and add a blur, but I'm going to decrease the intensity. And you can still add more to the layer that has a filter on it. It's not finite. If that's the correct word, I don't know. I'm not good with English. You can also remove areas if you feel like it's affecting too much, whilst there's a filter on there. You can also add highlights, and it won't affect the rest of the mesh. Like this. And the same happens if you add highlights and whatnot. So if I just color this area, you can see that the purple area is not being affected. So if I were to just add highlighted areas, do an overlay. Or the shadow. I'm gonna add a shadow on this side. I'm going to add a shadow on the back. I'm just going to add a little line across here. So yeah, this is basically how I texture characters within Substance Painter. Obviously I didn't do the entire thing because that would take too long and I don't want to do a super long tutorial. This is probably already way too long. It's already like an hour and I don't like editing videos anymore, it's a pain. But yeah, just the basics of how to texture a character within Substance Painter. Hopefully I didn't miss out too much. But if I have missed out some things, don't worry, just play around with the program if you do own it. I promise you that it will make a lot more sense when you mess around with things, get familiar with all the settings, all the buttons, and what they do, and just, yeah, have fun with it. It is a lot of fun to use this program. I'm probably gonna texture the rest of the model off video and release her onto Coffee for sale when she is finished, but yeah. Once she is textured, I'll then move on to rigging her and adding facial expressions for the next tutorials. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope it helped. And if it did, leave a like, drop a comment down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!